Right, welcome to my UFC 160 predictions video. I'm sorry it's a little bit late and probably going to be a bit rushed. That's because of my escapade with the charity walk over the weekend. In regards to their main event, I think that Cain Velasquez will do pretty much exactly what happened before in the first meeting with whatever his name was, Antonio Silva, that's the one. So many Silvas it's hard to keep track. So I'm going to go for a TKO. I shall put it in the second. Now, we do like Jeremy Stephens, but it's fair to say that he hasn't done that well over the past couple of years. Loss, win-win, loss, loss, loss. That's 3 losses in a row. 2 were decisions, but 1 was a split decision. His saving grace there is that all of those were extremely high calibers. Esteban Payen, whoever the hell he is, 14-3 is his record. I don't know him, I've never heard of him. He is apparently one of those Strikeforce imports, you know, got the immediate sort of import clause, so to speak. You know, he's a bit of a decision king. I don't think that Jeremy Stephens will let it go to decision knowing what hangs in the balance here. Not only is his record just about better, 20-9 to 14-3, 14 of his 20 victories are by TKO. I'm going to go and say I think this will be a stand-up war, and I'll go for a TKO in the third. Brian Bowles needs a bit of a comeback after not quite making it against Uriah Faber, and he is fighting George Roop. Now, Brian Bowles is only 10-2. And George Roop is 13-9. Having said that, Brian Bowles is a submission specialist, and you know, George Roop, bit of a decision king. You know, he gets submitted as much as he submits others. It is true that he hasn't been submitted in quite a long time. However, that's what I think will happen this time. I think that Brian Bowles will bounce back with a choke submission in the second. Right, the next fight is Nash on Burrell, 9-2, fighting Stephen Thompson, 6-1. Stephen Thompson has only lost one. Unfortunately, it was his last fight, which might have been his debut into the UFC, or maybe one, I can't remember. I think that this one will be closer than people think. I do, however, think that the experience is probably going to push it towards Nash on Burrell. I think I'll go for a TKO in the third. Khabib Nurmagomedov has a perfect record of 19. He's been in the UFC for some time and he's done rather well. He's now fighting quite high calibers. I'm not sure Abel to Giglio is one of them, and I don't mean that in a nasty way. His record is 10-4, and you know, I'm sure he does his best, but I don't know if he's quite at the same level as some of the calibers that Khabib has faced and conquered. I shall give him the benefit of the doubt, and I shall say that I'm going to go for a Khabib win here by decision. Now, as I didn't watch TUF, I have no idea quite why they have made this match. Colton Smith, who apparently did really well on the finale of a TUF whatever, with a record of 3-1, is fighting Robert Whittaker with a record of 10-2, who has already won once in the UFC. Do you know, I think that this is setting him up for a bit of a fall, and I don't know why, but there we are. I'm going to go for Robert Whittaker. I might, however, go for decision. I might give him the benefit of the doubt. To be honest, I don't know who's going to win this match. This is Dennis Bermudez, 10-3, and Max Holloway with a record of 7-1. All I know is that both of them usually tend to lose by submission, so I don't think there'll be much of that going on. I think this will probably go to decision. I think it could be sort of closer than you think. For some reason, I go towards thinking Dennis Bermudez will probably win it, but I would probably prefer Max Holloway to win it, if that makes sense. I have a feeling that this could be fight of the night, this next one. Mike Pyle is fighting Rick Story. Now, Rick Story was known originally as quite the submission artist. That has changed since he's had a string of losses. His record is 15-6. Mike Pyle has a longer record, 24-8. And he is a very, very good submission artist. He has come on leaps and bounds. But at the moment, he's mainly TKO, and Rick Story is mainly decision. Do you know, this is going to be one of two ways. It's either going to be a Rick Story decision, or it's going to be a Mike Pyle submission. And it really depends on how good Mike Pyle is, I think, on the night. I actually think that he's done very, very well. And I think that I might just dare to say that he might get a bar submission in the second. If that match does fall flat on its face, there is another possibility for fight of the night, and this is Donald Cerrone versus KJ Noons. Now, KJ Noons, win, loss, loss, win, loss, loss. And he is actually very, very good, but that is not particularly good. He has got he's been imported from Strikeforce, and most of those decisions, in fact they're all decisions, losses were in Strikeforce. Now, I don't really know whether any of those are bum decisions or how close they are. At least the last one is split. Donald Cerrone, on the other hand, well, he's got a wealth of experience being from Jackson's. He is terribly exciting. Does tend to struggle with very high calibers, but then having said that, KJ Noons recently with his record not so brilliant. KJ Noons has a lot to lose here, and Donald Cerrone has next to nothing. I think this will probably be a Donald Cerrone decision, and bye-bye KJ Noons, probably. Bit unfortunate, but, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Not a big fan of Gray Maynard or his almost perfect record, because I don't think it is perfect at all. All he ever does is win by decision, and half the time you can guarantee that will be a split decision or a draw. Having said that, he does tend to win a little bit too often, and I'm not sure that TJ Grant, although he's got a better record, 20-5 to 11-1, I'm not totally convinced that he will be able to do much better than anybody else. Do you know, he is a submission specialist, but Gray Maynard is unfortunately a very good wrestler and might be able to sort of avoid that problem. You know, I hate to say it, but it'll probably be a Gray Maynard decision again. Not convinced I know who's going to win this one either. James Tahuna, 16-5, versus Glover Teixeira, 20-2. I think James Tahuna might win by TKO in the third, because he only tends to lose to extremely high calibers. But that might not be the case here. That's going to be my prediction, but I could be wrong there. The co-main event, Junior Dos Santos is fighting Mark Hunt. Now, we need to keep two things in perspective here. First, both are strikers, and one of them is 15-2, The other is 9 and 7. Mark Hunt, there's been a lot of blah about him coming in and doing what needs to be done. And it's true that he does seem to have developed knockout capability, which people need to be a bit worried about. Junior Dos Santos, there's an easy way out here. If he comes into any problems with the stand-up, he ought to go to ground, because the one thing that Mark Hunt just doesn't seem to be able to do is avoid submissions. I would, if I was Junior Dos Santos, I would shock the world by submitting him. But it's probably going to end up being a Junior Dos Santos TKO.